Here. Welcome to the Smart DriverTEK workshop with AARP. Give a few minutes for everyone to get in. Excellent. I know we have a lot of people calling in from Michigan. You can put comments there if you're calling in, where you're calling in from. It's always nice to see. I think we've got a lot from AARP through Michigan, but if some other people from other locations. We've got a lot from AARP. Okay, we will get actually started in a few minutes.
All right, Mary, I am seeing you on about a 15-second delay on Facebook.
Okay.
Okay, just so you're aware.
All right, thank you. Thanks. By the way, for everyone here, that was Jeff, our producer. I'm Mary, volunteer with AARP, and we'll be presenting today, the Smart DriverTEK workshop. I'd like to introduce you to Jeff, my sidekick. Jeff will be the producer.
Hi, everybody. I'm her caddy.
Your caddy. Oh, you haven't seen me golf. Anyways, maybe it'll help. So Jeff will be making sure everything runs in the background and fielding your questions. Especially, please put your comments and questions in, and we'll be sure to capture them. We will have a time for some discussion as appropriate. We've got some people on Zoom. We've got some people on Facebook and YouTube. So we're all over. So we welcome everyone. It's great to have you here. Again, this is being recorded. So it's great to see you, though. Thank you. Again, this is Smart DriverTEK workshop. And we're in about 90 minutes. Hope you'll enjoy what we have here for you. Interested in finding out what brings you here, if you could, and you can raise your hand virtually if you have any questions, and if you're not sure how to do that, you can send Jeff a question in the chat or send a question in the comments section, Facebook, YouTube. Curious to know how many of you have purchased a new vehicle, or who has purchased or leased a new vehicle in the last year or two.
All right, I see Joe raised his hand. iPhone, if you'd unmute for a second and tell me your first name, I'm happy to rename you. You have to unmute. You have to hit the slash button. You had the camera on, but you didn't have the microphone on. There's a little microphone that has a red slash across it that you have to unmute.
Okay, try Rick, R-I-C-K.
R-I-C-K. The magic of Zoom is about to occur. There you go. You are now Rick.
Right.
Right. Okay, thanks. So we're interested in perhaps some of the technology that maybe you found some technology that you're especially like using, some of the safety technologies. Hopefully some we'll be talking about today. And also we're interested in knowing some of you might be interested in buying a new car in the next year or two. Anyone interested in here? Perhaps they want to learn about new technology for the next year or two.
Oh, I see Phil raised his hand about that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Hopefully we will be able to give you some insight on some of the technology and how it's used. Those either Joe or Rick, any particular technology in your new vehicle that you have found especially helpful or interesting? Love to have you share.
Again, you need to unmute if you're going to talk to us, please.
Okay, I will say that I think I've mastered that which is necessary for my driving. I very much like the side indicators in the mirrors that somebody is creeping up on me if I don't see them in my rear view mirror.
Right.
Keeps me in line. I like the highway lane marker indicator. There's a little thing up on, I have a Chrysler. And there's a little thing on the dashboard that says, hey, wait a minute, you're a little too close to the right side or the left, whichever. I'm veering out of my lane. That goes very well. And the rest of it is still getting used to it.
Well, thanks, Rick. We will be talking about a few of those items you mentioned, and hopefully it's those items that you're trying to get used to a little bit. Hopefully will help a little bit today. Anyone have any other comments about the technology they're looking for or they have in their vehicle before we jump into a little poll? Okay, Jeff, let's share the poll. We have a quick poll for you before we get started, and Jeff will pull that up.
Okay, I'm going to open the poll. It is a one-question poll on safety technology. The question is, have you had experience with any of these technologies? Because Mary's going to cover all of them today. Any that you have to the left of the number, you can just check off, and at the bottom, there is a blue submit button once you're done. And the technologies are forward collision warnings, adaptive cruise control, reverse safety technologies and blind spot warnings, lane departure warnings, drowsy driver alerts, smart headlights, or none of the above, or you're not sure. And Mary, it looks like this is a good group that is getting with the program and putting in their choices as you might speak.
Yes, and on Facebook or YouTube are welcome to put down some of the top items or ones perhaps that they're least familiar with in the comment section, and we'll capture those.
So Mary, you tell me when you're satisfied and you want me to end and share the poll.
Sure, you can end now. Thanks.
Okay, and here, folks, are the results.
Okay, looks like adaptive cruise, high knowledge of or experience with, I should say. Drowsy Driver, I got to tell you, my experience is Drowsy Driver is probably one of the least familiar. So we will be talking about all of these, as Jeff said, and hopefully we'll all get a little more familiar. Or if you're shopping in the future, you'll know what you want to look for or ask for in a new vehicle. So, all right, we can close out the poll, Jeff. And
okay. I'm stopping the share. If you should still see it on your screen, in one of the corners, there will be a red X. And if you just click on it, it will go bye-bye. And Mary, it's all back to you.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. Okay. So, again, those of you who are just joining us, welcome to Smart DriverTEK Workshop. It's developed jointly by AARP Driver Safety and the Hartford. Again, my name is Mary. I'm a volunteer and going to be leading the workshop today. And please address all questions in chat, or you can put your questions in comments if applicable. But in chat, please address them to Jeff, our producer, and he'll be able to field them. Together, AARP Driver Safety and the Hartford are committed to promoting safe driving behavior for drivers of all ages. As partners in safety for over 30 years, we're offering today's workshop to help you understand more about vehicle technology. Okay, so we're going to talk about a lot of vehicle safety technologies today and discuss how to use them and how they can benefit us. Now, these technologies can help keep everyone on the road safer, but especially interest to mature drivers because they can perhaps extend our safe driving years. This information is important to learn about for choosing a new car, and also if you occasionally rent a car, you see these technologies in lease cars. Hopefully you'll be a little more prepared for that. Okay, in today's workshop, we'll review safety technologies identified in research conducted by the Hartford and the MIT Age Lab. Now, these are some of the top concerns that older drivers reported in research studies. As we talk about the vehicle safety technologies today, we'll discuss how they can help address these concerns, especially mature drivers seeing at night. Distractions, which I think just seems with more technology, cell phones, texting, distractions within the vehicle are a continued concern, merging onto the highway and changing lanes. So most of the vehicle safety technologies that we're going to talk about today are crash avoidance technologies. These are technologies that are safety technologies that help crash. The most exciting innovations in vehicle technology are happening in this area. Now, there are variations in exactly how these technologies are implemented by the different manufacturers, but the core basic concepts that we discussed today are similar across all of the across most of the vehicles, I should say. Now, one thing that is important to be aware of with many of these technologies we'll be discussing today is that they may need to be turned on for them to be used. Now, you might find a switch by perhaps in the steering wheel switch, maybe on the door panel in the steering console, maybe something that you have to press the button for any of those areas. You need to check with your dealership or owner's manual to find out how to turn that technology on if you aren't sure, or also if you need to turn it on every ignition if you're not sure of that, or perhaps it stays on once you turn it on. Now, also note some vehicles allow the driver to adjust the technology settings. For example, the sensitivity volume or type of alert. Maybe it's quiet, you can't quite hear it, you can turn the volume up. You can add a chime, take the chime away. Maybe it's a tactile feel. Lastly, be aware that certain weather conditions like snow, heavy rain, or fog may affect the performance of the technology, and some systems will alert the driver if the technology is not working properly. It's important to take time to learn the specifics and the limitations of the feature in your own specific car. Now, this is the Smart DriverTEK check. It summarizes the technologies we're going to discuss. And for those of you who did get the email sent to you about the class, it was included in the email. You can take notes that indicate the features you want to explore further. Now, when researching a new car or reviewing your owner's manual, there are websites listed on the back to help you learn more. Now, if you didn't get a chance to print this checklist out in advance when the workshop is over, locate the email included the link for today's workshop, and you can click on the checklist link provided there. Okay, so these are the topics we're going to cover today. The first 6 crash avoidance technologies will be in the main focus of today's workshop. The first 3 technologies are related to warnings that are based on the front and rear in your vehicle. The second 3 are technologies related to warnings on the side of your vehicles. Then we'll touch on some other technologies we think you will find interesting and close out with the future of transportation, which is fascinating. It covers ways to get around when you are unable to or prefer not to drive yourself. So for each of the 6 technologies that are the main focus today, we're going to start by watching a video that explains the technology. Follow up with a review of the key points from the video about the technology, and then we'll have an opportunity to have some discussion throughout the workshop as well. We can discuss live or questions in the chat or comments. Now, because the technology works a bit differently across manufacturers, during the discussion sections, we'll be interested to hear what happens in your own specific car. This will be especially useful for those in the group that are just beginning to explore safety technologies that are now available. Now, it's important to be aware of how vehicle safety technologies may alert you take action when necessary. Some vehicles may allow you to set alert practice and that which most effective for you. There are different types of alerts to look for, and when we watch vehicle technology videos in today's workshop, you'll see them. They may be show that it's an audio warning, and it might change. It could be a beeping sound that gets louder or softer. It could be an audio warning. It could be a visual warning, where you might see an icon or light, maybe in the in the console, in the instrument panel. Could flash in your side mirror or dash. Could be a tactile warning in which you might maybe feel a little bit in the steering wheel or feel in the seat, a little bit of vibration or such. There's also autonomous response. Now that's when the car does something automatically, much like our bodies breathe without having to think about it. Autonomous features are intended to work in the background of our vehicles without needing our attention, like braking automatically to avoid a collision. And finally, mobility assistance or driver benefit. Now, this icon does not alert you to something that your vehicle may do. This icon, however, highlights how a technology might be relevant for drivers with mobility challenges, or might be particularly helpful for mature drivers. Now, you also see some of these technologies may have not just one warning, but maybe could be a combination. You might get both an audio and a visual, and maybe even a tactile as well. So the first three technologies that we discuss relate to cameras and sensors to assess what is happening in the front and behind your vehicle. These are three of the technologies identified in research conducted by the Hartford and the MIT Age Lab that can enhance your driving safely. So let's look at first one, forward collision warnings and automatic emergency braking. Let's watch the video.
Forward collision warning systems monitor traffic in front of a vehicle and warn the driver of a potential collision. Sensors on the front of the vehicle measure the distance and speed of the vehicle in front of you. Using this information, the vehicle calculates if you have a safe following distance based on your current speed. If your vehicle detects that you're at risk of a collision, it will alert you. The alert is commonly an audio warning, and it may be accompanied by a visual warning on the instrument panel or the windshield. Another type of alert that is less common is a tactile alert, such as tugging on the seatbelt or pulsing the brakes. In addition to alerting the driver, forward collision warning systems generally pre-charge the brakes to increase their effectiveness if the driver chooses to brake. In more advanced systems, if the driver does not brake and a collision is imminent, the vehicle may close the windows, tighten the seatbelts, and adjust the seating position to reduce injury. Forward collision warning systems that alert the driver if they're in danger of rear-ending a vehicle have reduced crashes by 27%, according to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. There is another related technology that has been shown to be even more effective at reducing rear-end collisions. Automatic emergency braking, or AEB systems, reduce crashes by 50%. Like forward collision warning systems, AEB systems use sensors and cameras to detect when a forward collision may occur, based on the distance and relative speed between vehicles. The differences with AEB systems is that when your vehicle determines that a crash may occur, the system will automatically apply the brakes to mitigate the severity of a crash or prevent it altogether. Basic versions of this technology generally detect collisions with large solid objects such as other vehicles, but more advanced versions can detect collisions with pedestrians, cyclists, and even large animals. The beauty of forward collision warning systems and AEB systems is that they work continuously in the background to help keep you safe. To use them properly, pay attention to the alerts and be prepared to apply the brakes to avoid a collision. These systems are also sometimes referred to as autonomous braking systems.
Okay, so to summarize, in addition to reducing crashes, this technology can help to minimize injuries to drivers and passengers. You can see alerts of driver in danger of rear-ending a vehicle have reduced crashes by 27%. The monitor activity in front of the vehicle to evaluate if there is a safe following distance relative to the current speed. There's an audio, visual, and or tactile alert to warn you that a collision may occur. Some systems may prepare your vehicle for a crash by tightening the seat belts and preparing the brakes. Again, these work continuously in the background. Now, these warning systems that alert the driver and have automatic emergency braking have reduced crashes by 50%. Awesome. Okay, so automatic emergency braking systems are so promising that they're expected to be a standard feature in virtually all new cars by the end of 2022. Again, it's this most effective technology to help you avoid getting into a crash. Very helpful. Adaptive cruise is the next technology we're going to discuss. Now, traditional cruise control systems help you maintain a set speed. Adaptive cruise control will maintain your set speed if it is safe to do so, but will reduce your speed if necessary to keep a safe driving distance between you and the vehicle in front of you. Let's watch a video.
Similar to traditional cruise control systems, adaptive cruise control systems are used to maintain a set speed. The difference with adaptive cruise control systems is that forward-mounted sensors measure the distance to the car in front of you, and then uses this information to slow down and speed up your car as needed to ensure you're maintaining a safe following distance. If the vehicle in front of you slows down, adaptive cruise control applies the brakes to slow your vehicle automatically. When the vehicle in front of you increases its speed and a safe following distance can be reestablished, adaptive cruise control systems will automatically accelerate your vehicle back to the preset cruising speed. In some systems, if the vehicle in front of you slows below a certain speed, adaptive cruise control will disengage and warn the driver to brake with a visual warning on the dash, accompanied by audio warnings. But more advanced adaptive cruise control systems have autonomous braking that can bring the vehicle to a complete stop without driver intervention. If a vehicle changes lanes and enters the space between you and the vehicle in front of you, the distance will be recalculated, and your vehicle will slow until a safe following distance is reestablished. To use adaptive cruise control, you set a desired cruising speed, just like you would with a traditional cruise control system. In addition to setting a speed, most systems allow you to choose a gap distance or following distance. This is the distance your vehicle will maintain between you and the vehicle in front of you. Generally, automakers have 3 levels of gap distance, often called short, medium, and long, or 1, 2, and 3. But some manufacturers have additional options. Gap distance is set differently in different models of vehicles. Some vehicles may have controls on or near the steering wheel, while in other vehicles it may be set through the menu system in the dashboard. Adaptive cruise control may help to reduce driver stress and may assist when driving long distances.
Okay, so to summarize, adaptive cruise control, you set the desired speed and gap distance. It uses sensors to maintain a safe following distance, and it speeds up and slows down automatically if it is safe to do so. Now, in the AARP Smart Driver course, we recommend that drivers maintain a 4-second following distance in normal conditions on dry roadways and longer in bad weather or on gravelly roads. Adaptive cruise control settings are the standard and vary in many ways, including the gap distance options and the safety effectiveness at low speeds. Be sure to understand the nuances of your system so that it can be used appropriately. Okay, the third one is reverse safety technologies. Now, reverse monitoring systems can include backup cameras and or audio warnings or beeps to let you know you're getting close to an object when backing up. And this is the third technology of those systems that sensors in the front and rear. So let's watch a video.
Reverse monitoring systems use a combination of proximity sensors and cameras to determine how close you are to objects behind your vehicle when backing up. The cameras used in reverse monitoring systems are commonly called backup cameras. They're especially useful for judging distances behind you when backing out of tight spaces. The image captured from the camera is shown on a screen inside the vehicle when the car is put in reverse. Oftentimes, the screen is built into the center console of the car. In some models, the screen is built into the rearview mirror. The proximity sensors in reverse monitoring systems can alert you as your vehicle approaches an object. This is generally an audio warning, but in some vehicles may be a visual warning on the screen. When an object is detected but still relatively distant, you may hear a slow beep. As you get closer, the beep may increase in speed or intensity. When you're extremely close to an object and it's recommended that you stop, the beep will turn into a constant pitch. Your backup camera's field of view is directly behind your vehicle, and that field of view is limited. It may not see objects below the bumper or to the left or right of your car because these are the camera's blind spots. Some vehicles display grid lines on the video monitor screen. These illustrate the trajectory your car will take based on the current position of the steering wheel. A more recent advancement in reverse monitoring is rear automatic braking. In systems with rear automatic braking, or RAB, the vehicle is able to apply brakes automatically when a collision is imminent. Another variation of the technology uses additional sensors that detect vehicles approaching from the left and right of the car, and not just directly behind your vehicle. This feature is commonly referred to as rear cross-traffic alert, and it can be useful when backing out of a parking spot or driveway. While rear cross-traffic alerts are helpful, they may not detect pedestrians, cyclists, or small motorcycles. It's important to look over your shoulder and not to rely exclusively on reverse monitoring systems, but this technology may be beneficial if you have limited flexibility.
Okay, so to summarize, reverse safety technologies use cameras and sensors to indicate what's behind you or a car approaching from the right or left rear. There are audio alerts may intensify when nearing an object, and large variability in what's available and continually improving, as you can see here. Now, rear cross traffic alert notifies you with an audio or visual or both, a warning that there may be a car entering your path from the rear, either left or right side in the rear. Rear automatic braking automatically applies the brakes while backing up if you do not respond to an object detected directly behind you, your vehicle, or approaching from the left or right rear. So it will help you take over in case you didn't start braking soon enough or didn't see it. So vehicles with rear vision cameras and rear sensors have reduced backing crashes or backup crashes by 42%. When combining that with rear automatic braking has reduced backing crashes by 78%. Now this is such a great technology. Beginning in 2018, backup cameras were required in all new cars sold in the US. And reverse safety technology has become increasingly sophisticated since then. Because there are lots of variations in how this technology is implemented, be sure to learn about the specific nuances on your specific vehicle when exploring different makes and models to understand how that particular one works and what the content is for that. So let's have a little bit of discussion about these three technologies that have use sensors in the front and rear of the vehicle: the forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, and adaptive cruise control, reverse safety technologies. Jeff, do we have any questions or comments out there regarding these first three technologies?
Mary, the only thing I'm seeing, not in regard to these technologies, Nevo on Facebook, when you get to it, is really interested in the Drowsy Driver alerts.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah,
okay.
That was one in the poll that found that people were least familiar with. So we will definitely be covering that. So good. Yeah. No other questions or comments?
Well, no, actually, Phil Lenowitz just put a comment in, which is very good. Mm-hmm. He indicates that when going through a car wash, it's a good idea to turn it off, or else it may try to stop the car.
Oh.
And Phil is even ahead of the game because that comes up a little bit later on in your presentation.
Yes. Yeah, great input, Phil. You're absolutely right. And it's just an example of how it's important to understand how your technology works, when it works, and where the switch is. Can you turn it off? Where is it? When is it applicable to turn it off and turn it on? So those are really, knowledge is power, right? And so those are very important comments. Thank you, Phil. Anybody experience forward collision warnings or automatic emergency braking? Like to share? I see Kevin says he has most of these technologies in his 17 Buick LaCrosse, and they are indispensable. Yeah, you certainly, Kevin, you certainly get used to them. Once you experience them, you like, boy, how did I drive without them, right? They're very, very helpful. I agree. Any other comments?
Mary, let me
Yes, Jeff,
say
please.
something. Let me give a good testimony for automatic emergency braking. It was a couple of years ago. I was driving on a residential street here, just going up, I don't know, 25, 30 miles an hour. And the car pulls out without looking at their driveway directly in front of me.
Oh,
And I still have really good reaction, but even before I could get my foot on the brake, the car just stopped itself. And if it hadn't, I would have hit the other vehicle. My airbags would have been deployed. I probably would have injured people in the other car and certainly have done damage to the cars. Far and away, automatic emergency braking is the number one technology that we have available today. And then right behind it today is the rear automatic braking.
absolutely. Jeff, that's great input. My vehicle doesn't have the automatic braking, but it will be a feature that I definitely look for in the next vehicle. But what it does have, one of these technologies, and I need it all the time. I feel like I need it in a parking lot. So many vehicles are SUVs these days trying to pull out of a parking lot. I pull out slowly, but I can't see cars, around the car parked next to me necessarily. Is there a car coming? And my car lets me know a lot sooner than I can see them. And it shows me a little picture of which direction they're coming from. Now I need to be careful. If it shows one direction, after that car goes by, don't ignore, because there could be another one in the other direction. So it's important to look. But I love that my car lets me know, hey, there's something coming down that direction. I have found it very, very helpful all the time. So yeah, I do like that technology. Anybody else have anything else to share? Anything about adaptive cruise control and the gap distance in their vehicle? Any experience with that? Have you used it? Find it useful?
My daughter, probably 10 years ago, had a car with both of those on it, which I was privileged to drive. And it was very, very useful. She lives in Boston. I live outside of Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. And it really convinced me, an old-fashioned guy who said, what the heck, you don't need all these electronic things, how useful it would be. The other thing I have to say about the various sensors on the back and side is there's a lot of motorcycles around here. Harley Davidson headquarters are in Milwaukee.
Sure.
And some of the folks like to sneak up on your right rear and try to pass you. Well, if you don't have something indicating that there is a driver over there or an object, you might very easily have a problem. And this has been useful. I've had all of these devices on my car since about 2010. And I would not want to drive without them anymore.
Yep. Yeah. Excellent input. And I see a few comments that Kevin uses adaptive cruise all the time, and that the rear cross traffic alerts are lifesavers because of reduced flexibility in my neck. And I think a lot of us, as we have matured, have some reduced flexibility, perhaps reaction time, or Rick, as you say, motorcycles come by, they're harder to see so quickly, and they're not as big, so it's hard to see. So having technology to help us with that is certainly very, very helpful to supplement our abilities and skills, I would say. So, yes, thank you. Any other questions, or if not?
Yeah, Mary, a couple of things came up here.
Please, Jeff.
It's a question from Phil on Facebook. He's asking, and it's a really good question. How does a heavy rainstorm affect the anti-collision feature?
A heavy rainstorm affect the anti-collision, like a forward? That is a good question.
I can answer that if you're not sure.
Go right ahead, Jeff.
Okay.
I'm not totally sure. I would be concerned about a little bit more, but I think the sensors could handle it. But go ahead, Jeff.
No, generally speaking, if it's a heavy rainstorm or it's heavy fog or snow, they disable. I actually, on our vehicles, I get a notification on the dashboard that tells me that it has been disabled, and it will stay that way until it clears. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, you can't count on them when your visibility is, if you can't see, the sensors are not going to be able to see. It's basically the same thing.
Okay, very good. So, and we will be covering later on some limitations to this technology, and you bring up one, the snow. I hadn't thought of heavy rain. I guess it depends on heavy rain, but you're absolutely right. If you can't see, can the sensors see? So very good.
And I got a couple others. Boy, Facebook is really coming in with these now, Mary.
All right, bring them in.
Mike commented that adaptive cruise control looks terrific, and he currently enjoys the reverse steering technologies. Karina, I hope I'm getting the initials correct when I'm interpreting. And then a question from Christine: do any of these technologies cause people to become overconfident and thus drive in more unsafe ways?
Well, that's a great question and comment. I don't think I have data to say one way or the other. I would only say that any of us as drivers should look at these as assistance and supplement, and doesn't take over for us. We talked about the limitations already. It's important still to turn your head if you can. Now, maybe you can't turn as much, but it's still important to look. It's still important to be alert. And these technologies just help us more, ensure a little more. There are, assistance to maybe do quicker and things, but I don't have the data to say people become more relaxed at it. I would only advise not to. Any questions or comments on that, Jeff, or anyone else?
Well, what I would say about that is that we are the drivers. We've got our hands on the steering wheel. We are responsible. And regardless of what technology we have in the car, we have to realize that and always be alert. It is there, and these new technologies, especially for us as we're aging, are there to help keep us driving longer and safer. But they are, as you said, they are just aids. They are not changing. This is not a self-driving car, folks. Far from it yet.
Right. Well said. Any other questions or comments before we move on to the next three technologies? Oh, there's a question about reverse. I think we've talked about some of those.
Yep.
Great. Okay. As I mentioned, the next three technologies are sensors on the right and left sides of our vehicle to alert you to dangers beside you. Now, these are also technologies identified in research conducted by the Hartford and the MIT Age Lab. Let's discuss them further together. So first of all, blind spot warnings. Let's look at the video.
Blind spot warning systems use proximity sensors on both sides of your vehicle to monitor difficult-to-see blind spots. Usually, there's a subtle visual warning or an audio warning that lets you know when a vehicle has been detected. The visual warnings are often a lighted indicator on your side view mirrors. If you begin to move into the occupied blind spot, The visual warning may flash, change colors, and the vehicle may even sound an audio warning. In some vehicles, if you activate your turn signal to indicate you'll be changing lanes while a vehicle is in your blind spot, the alert will increase in intensity to get your attention and will let you know that you should not change lanes. Some advanced versions of this technology will automatically apply light braking to your wheels to gently nudge your car back into your lane and away from the vehicle in your blind spot. Even when autonomous braking and steering is used, control is never taken away from the driver. The blind spot warning systems need to be turned on in order to use them. This is commonly done by pressing a button close to the driver's side mirror, on the dash, or on the steering wheel. This technology can be especially helpful to drivers with neck and back issues that have a limited range of motion.
Okay, to summarize, blind spot warnings, they warn you of the vehicle, if a vehicle is occupying your blind spot. Warnings may intensify if you try to change lanes, and some systems may autonomously nudge your vehicle back into your lane. So the next one is lane departure warnings. Now, blind spot warnings and lane departure warnings may seem similar. Now, if your turn indicator is on, a blind spot warning will let you know if there's a car in the way. If your turn indicator is not on, but your car is moving out of your lane, a lane departure warning will let you know that you may be unintentionally drifting from where you are. Now, this technology encourages the safe driving habit of using turn signals. Not only does your turn signal communicate your intentions to other drivers, it also conveys your intentions to your car, which is increasingly important as the technology gets more sophisticated. So let's look at the video.
Lane departure warning systems are designed to help you stay in your current lane. They sense your vehicle's placement in the lane using sensors and cameras to read unobscured yellow and white lines marked on the road. If they detect that you're drifting or entering another lane unintentionally, they will alert you. The alerts used by lane departure warning systems are typically visual and audio warnings. The visual warnings most often appear as a flashing light on the dash. These are often accompanied by audio warnings to assist in getting your attention. Some systems also have a tactile warning that may include steering wheel or seat vibration. Some advanced lane departure warning systems can do more than just provide warnings. In these systems, the technology can apply light autonomous braking and autonomous steering to guide the vehicle back into the lane without driver input. You'll always have total control of your vehicle. Some common names for this advanced functionality are lane keeping and lane centering. Lane departure warning systems can often be turned on or off, but need to be turned on to work. This is commonly done by pressing a button close to the side view mirror, on the dash, on the steering wheel, or through a setting in the car's digital menu. You should always use your turn signal when changing lanes, but it is particularly important to use your turn signal when driving a vehicle with a lane departure warning system. The turn signal is how you communicate to the vehicle that you're intentionally leaving the lane. If you change lanes without using your turn signal, the vehicle will think that you're drifting unintentionally, and the lane departure warning system will be triggered.
Okay, so to summarize, lane departure warnings, they warn you if you are drifting out of your lane. Some systems may autonomously nudge your vehicle back into your lane. It's called lane keeping, and it's important to use your turn signal. Now, third one, Drowsy Driver. Drowsy Driver alerts help make sure you are focused on the task of driving and encourage you to stop and take a break. Let's watch this video.
Drowsy Driver alert systems use sensors and cameras to monitor driving behavior and determine if a driver is impaired by fatigue or inattentiveness. There are variations of this technology with different methods for determining drowsiness. The most common implementation of this technology is closely related to lane departure warning systems. It scans the road to determine the vehicle's placement in its current lane, and if repeated lane departures are detected, the system is triggered. Some advanced systems utilize cameras in the dashboard that monitor the driver's face to detect if their eyelids are drooping or are closed for longer than an average blink. When these systems are triggered, they alert the driver, usually with visual, audio, or tactile warnings, to remind you to stay focused or to consider pulling over for rest. Often the visual alert includes an image of a coffee cup. Drowsy driver systems can often be turned on or off, but need to be turned on for you to benefit from them. This is commonly done by pressing a button on the dash or through a setting in the car's digital menu. When turned on, they work continuously in the background, and you only have to interact with the system when it's triggered. The best way to benefit from Drowsy Driver systems is to respect them. Please take them seriously and pull over if lack of sleep or medication are affecting your driving ability. This technology can be particularly useful for drivers who travel long distances or those who take medications that can cause unexpected drowsiness.
Okay, so drowsy driving alert, to summarize, it infers you are drowsy or inattentive and encourages you to focus or pull over. It's triggered by repeated unintentional lane veering or veering out of your lane. Some systems may monitor your eyelids even. And now in some cars, drowsy driver alerts may be triggered by driving for a specific amount of time or specific amount of miles traveled, and just like after 2 hours or after so many miles, it'll alert you to say maybe you need to take a break. So we can talk more about that in the discussion here. Hopefully we answered some of the questions, but about Drowsy Driver, but maybe it can generate some more questions there. So do we have any questions or comments about these three technologies, sensors on the side of the vehicles? Jeff?
I'm seeing a comment from Mike that says Drowsy Driver is another text problem, and that's true. It's very important. I wish we had it in all vehicles that had young people driving to keep their eyes on the road. But that would only be if you have the Drowsy Driver alert that has the cameras that are reading your eyes.
Well, that's true, except I think when people are texting, it's hard to stay in the lane.
Yep, this is true also.
Yeah, so you get the lane departure and or the eye alert. Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's that distracted driving in general, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm also looking here. Just a couple of other things here. We finally got some results from Facebook going way back to the poll question.
Yes.
About 30% of those that are on Facebook are considering the purchase of a new vehicle. So this is really helpful for them. And we're also hopefully getting them a link to the checklist so that they can make notes for when they're shopping. Now, Phil also was asking a question, do any of the sensors use radar, which is dangerous microwave radiation? And I believe, I'm going to answer, I believe that most of them are using LADAR, which is laser beaming, not radio emitted. And there's a comment from Mike. He hopes that LDW does not cause people to text and feel they can recover in time, which is LDW. Lane departure warnings.
Yep.
I may be slow, but I'm dumb.
I understand what he's saying. It's a good point. If you have these technologies, oh, my car is going to push me back into the lane. Oh, it'll brake. So I can sit here and text a little bit or do some other distractive type activity because my car is going to take care of it. It's just not a good idea. Your car is going to help. And the Drowsy Driver, if you think about that, I'm hoping that most people weren't familiar with it because it was never triggered. But I'll admit, I'll be the first to admit I've driven when I got drowsy, and I probably should have pulled over sooner than I did. You know, you roll the window down, radio up, stop, take a rest, and so I understand that. So absolutely, we don't want these to be take over us keeping our hands on the wheels and our eyes on the road. Any other questions about any of these? Experience with any of them?
The only other thing I'm seeing here is Steve made an interesting comment. It says, unfortunately, many of these systems are only available on the higher trim levels. Nissan is an exception where they included most of them on the lowest trim.
All right. Well, I guess it's important to see, at least if you know what you want, know what to look for, you can find out if the vehicles have this kind of content that you're looking for. I think that's always a changing, the options are always changing in vehicles in the future. So, and what trim levels and such. So, but the important point is, if you think it's really important that I have lane departure warning, drowsy driver alert, to look for that in your new vehicle if you are looking for a new vehicle. And it's also important to know when I need to turn it off, or how to turn it off, or make sure it's turned on. So it's all knowledge, again, is power, right? Any questions or comments there?
No, I'm good over here.
I wonder, lane departure warnings, does anyone have a vehicle where it nudges you back? Have they experienced that?
I have two separate in our vehicles, Mary. We have lane departure, which beeps if it reads that you're hitting the line, and then we have what's called lane keeping, and that nudges us back. Now, in some vehicles, it is a combination of the two under the lane departure warning, but it's very effective.
Right. I had a workshop participant once that did have the lane keeping feature, and pointed out that she was driving in a construction zone area, and that's where you go. It moved you over so that your car was actually straddling the line, and it was continually trying to, go off and fix her because she was in the line. So that's one example of how it's important in some applications to be able to turn it off, so that it doesn't do that. I mean, she could control it okay, but it just would be easier to turn it off until by the construction zone. So, yeah. Anything else?
Well, the only other comment that I would make, and I guess actually let me put my camera back on, I'm sorry, is I'm going to go back for a second to a suggestion on adaptive cruise control for anybody that may not be thinking about this. And it's also traditional cruise. If you're on a highway, and let's say you're going 65 and you're on cruise control and you're getting off at an exit, you must disengage before you hit that clover leaf, or the car is going to keep going on that, and you're going to have to slam on the brakes. So it does not know what you're doing unless you tell it at that point with the disengagement.
Okay.
Mary, something else I just thought of in regard to lane departure. If you're in a construction zone, where now the lanes are not where they used to be, and you have the lane keeping as part of that lane departure, it is going to be struggling, and you're going to be fighting with the steering wheel. So it is suggested that if it is easy for you to have access to turning it off, that you do that. On many of the vehicles, it's on the steering wheel. If it's in the console, we have to start pumping away to find the correct marker. I don't suggest that you want to keep your eyes on the road.
Right. It's probably a good idea to sit in your driveway, maybe even with your owner's manual if you're not sure, to check where are all the switches, where do I turn this off, where can I adjust the gap for my adaptive cruise, and just know it before you go into drive or reverse, right? Yep. Now, drowsy driver alert. I know we had a lot of questions about that. Anybody experienced drowsy driver to share with us, or is where we answered all questions about drowsy driver alert? I know personally, I was driving a vehicle once, and it was a long drive, and the coffee cup came up. And this was a while ago, so must have been an advanced vehicle at the time. And I'm like, coffee? Where's the coffee? What is it telling me? Cup of coffee sounds good, but is there a pot in the glove box or what? But yes, the coffee. So a lot of times it does show a little icon, a coffee symbol. But anybody else that actually experienced the drowsy driver alert? Maybe you were driving for 2-3 hours and the coffee cup came on, or have we answered all the questions about drowsy driver alert?
Everything that I've got in chat has been covered. Steve just also mentioned that he has been nudged back into his lane with, the lane keeping or lane departure, but nothing more on Drowsy Driver alerts.
Right. Okay. Yes, just the other point, the Drowsy Driver alert technologies that perhaps stop after 2 hours or so many miles, some of those may be able to be programmed or adjustable, the time and such. So again, check that out in your owner's manual, dealer, or look online for that. So thank you. Okay, we also have some other feature technologies then. And these are a few additional technologies that were featured in the research conducted by the Hartford and the MIT Age Lab that we're going to cover next. First one, smart headlights. Now, seeing at night is a top concern, as we mentioned at the beginning of the workshop, for many drivers, but especially for some age-related changes we experience in our vision. Now, smart headlights are so valuable because they can truly help improve our nighttime visibility. Let's watch a video.
Smart headlights with high beam assist will automatically dim your brights when they detect oncoming traffic. This can help avoid blinding passing vehicles. Curve adaptive headlights, a type of smart headlight, can follow the curves in the road. They either use a combination of sensors and cameras to detect the curves in the road, or they turn when the steering wheel is turned. This can help you illuminate your path, especially on curvy roads.
Okay, so to summarize, they use cameras and sensors to actively adapt your headlights. Cruise adaptive headlights make it easier to see on dark curved roads, curve adaptive, and high beam assist headlights automatically adjust from high beam to low beam as an oncoming car. It will go back to low beam automatically for you. Now, to remember to always check that your headlights are on after turning off your car over to a service department or a car wash, as they often turn off. So be sure to check that out. Also note the difference in how curve adaptive headlights can be implemented. Now, if you live somewhere where there's heavy snow or country roads without reliable lane markings, be sure to look for curve adaptive headlights. Now, these follow the trajectory of your steering wheel so that you will not need to rely on the lane lines. So if you're looking for that, that's one thing to make sure you know what you're looking for in your vehicle. So assisted parking, as with all technologies discussed today, assisted parking can have many variations in how it's implemented and what is expected of the driver during use. You may want to practice this technology by parking between some garbage cans, some empty garbage cans or soft stuff in front of your home or in a big parking lot, perhaps, so you can practice the technology. Assisted parking uses cameras and sensors to detect the size of a parking space, may require the driver to shift into reverse or brake, and the car may align, reverse, and position itself into the parking space. Pretty cool. Okay, emergency response systems. These manually engaged or triggered by a collision. GPS sends your exact location, and representatives notify local police or paramedics. Now, a fee may be required for this, perhaps sometimes after an initial free period, but you need to understand that emergency response systems connect you to a support system. They do not directly connect you to 911. Instead, they connect you to a service that then communicates with 911 for you. Now, some advanced systems can also send diagnostic information about your vehicle and the severity of your crash and pass the information along to emergency responders so that they are better prepared when they arrive at the scene. Now, this is another technology that may be especially helpful for anyone that regularly drives long distances alone. If you have an emergency response system and you want to be able to use it, be sure to test this out, perhaps while sitting safely in your driveway. Press the little button to find out what, if any, contracts or fees may be needed to activate this feature. This will help ensure the system is ready if you ever need it. Okay, so additional technologies. We've got some additional technologies that AARP Driver Safety wants to share with you today. Now, these technologies may be of interest to you. However, unlike the technologies we previously discussed, we do not have age-based research item on these at this time. So the technologies, head-up displays. A head-up displays allows you to see important information without taking your eyes off the road. The data is displayed out in the windshield area. It might include speed, the radio controls, maybe heating, air conditioning controls, cruise control functions. Sometimes they're adjustable, so you can programmable, I should say. So if you want just the speed shown, or maybe you want just the radio shown, it depends. Also, you can see in the picture here, it's out on the windshield. Usually, the light intensity of the head-up display is able to be adjusted. So at night, you might not want it as bright. Daylight, you might need it brighter to be able to see. And the height is often adjustable. So shorter people, taller people can adjust it to where it's right for them. And then the 360-degree cameras, they help you to see better and to maneuver and park in a tight spot. Typically, they use 4 cameras in the front, rear, and each side of the car. And the system stitches these cameras feed together to make a seamless 360-degree view. Really kind of a nice view there. Okay, so rear occupant alerts is another technology. These are a valuable technology that could help save lives of those who ride in our back seat, like small children or our pets, and after a driver exits the vehicle. Now, most major auto manufacturers have agreed to make this available in the U.S. vehicles by 2025. Now, what this technology does is it may alert you if the rear door has been opened at the beginning of a trip, but not opened at the end of the trip. It will alert you either using an audio sensor or even to your phone. And it may also use motion sensors to detect any movement after ignition is turned off. So it lets you know that you left something or someone, could have been your ice cream, in the back seat, and you don't want it to melt, or more importantly, a pet or a child. So technology discussion. Let's talk about some of these. Anyone have any experience with any of these and how you might have benefited from these technologies? Or any particular interest in any of these technologies, of these additional technologies we talked about? Jeff, do we have any questions or comments in the section?
There are a couple of things. So, someone just unmuted. I want to let them speak first.
Oh, please.
Or maybe not. Maybe they muted again. Okay. I want to first, there are a couple things in chat from Facebook from Mike. And one of these goes back to the adaptive cruise control, because he's saying something else to be careful of is if you're on cruise control and you brake on the exit, and now you're going on a local street, the car's memory still thinks that you've got it set for whatever high speed it is. And if you accidentally restart it, it could be by hitting the plus sign on it. If you haven't turned it off completely, you may suddenly find yourself on this local street going 55, 65 miles an hour. So it's another thing to be aware of. Now, he also raised the question, and this goes to the emergency response systems, if they're connected to OnStar or one of the other services.
I'm sorry, someone's saying something? The OnStar.
Go on.
The OnStar would be like one of those emergency type of services. I can just say my experience, it fortunately wasn't an emergency, but I did, through technology like this, get notification that I had a tire pressure issue even before the light came on in my vehicle. And it sent that, and a low battery issue once as well. So it's nice to let you know before you're stranded somewhere that there's something.
All right. Mary, I also want to make a personal comment in regard to the smart headlights.
Sure.
I don't know if everybody is aware, there are two different technologies that are used with the smart headlights, and it was mentioned sort of prior in the video.
Right.
One of them is reading the lines of the road the same way that lane departure does, and as the road turns, the headlights turn with it. Now that's terrific as long as there are lane markings or they're not covered by snow or leaves. The other technology is where the headlights are actually connected to the steering wheel. As you turn your steering wheel, the headlights move in that same direction to that same degree. That's what we have in our vehicles. I prefer that because I know that they're always turning at the same time, and it actually those headlights prevented me from hitting a deer one night.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yep. So
Yep.
it is really a good technology to have.
Yes, Jeff, that's an excellent point. I know I've driven a vehicle with the headlights that adjust by the steering wheel, and living in a very dark dirt road neighborhood, it's very valuable to be able to see around the corner. So, I don't hit the corner boulder or something like that. So absolutely, very, very helpful. Any other experience with any of these technologies or benefits from them? I see a question: with all these cameras, one would need to keep the car washed regularly to keep the camera clear. That's a very, very good point. We are going to talk about the limitations of these. But yes, I did experience, there are times when I hit in reverse and my camera, all it looks fuzzy because it's dirty and things, and you can't really make out what you see back there. That's one, you got to keep the camera clean. But I was backing out once, and usually my side alert will let me know something there. Now it's really just a bush next to the garage or something, but it wasn't working. And I realized it was another sensor that was too dirty or covered in snow or something. So absolutely, they aren't going to work if they're all dirty and covered up. But as Jeff said, if they're covered and if they can't see, the technology isn't going to work. So it's some of the limitations there, and it's important to just keep them. If nothing else, if you can't get to the car wash right away, you can just wipe the sensor off and find out where they are and just wipe them off a little bit, and that'll help a lot. Mm-hmm. Any other questions or comments?
No, we got everything in the chat that I can see, Mary.
All right, thanks, Jeff. So let's talk about the future of transportation then. Technology is not only changing our vehicles and how we drive, it's changing how we connect with other transportation options also. For times when for times when you would prefer not to drive, it's easier than ever now to find an alternative to driving yourself. And when the time comes that we are unable to drive ourselves, technology is helping us preserve our freedom and remain independent much longer. Now, here are a few technologies that AARP Driver Safety wants to share with you today. One, an app-based rideshare services such as Lyft or I'm a blank on the other one.
Uber.
Uber. I know I forgot about Uber. Mobility as a service, or MaaS, that's pronounced MaaS, and autonomous vehicles. So rideshare services. I'm sure you've heard of Uber or Lyft. Some of you might even remember to say it, Uber. These are examples of rideshare services. Once you download the app, and the service is free app, I should say, to your smartphone, you can request rides. This is great for times when you want to avoid driving, maybe at night or in bad weather, or when you don't want to worry about finding a parking spot wherever you're going, or when you're recovering from an injury or an illness. Now, rideshare services pick you up at your convenience, and you know what the cost will be from the up front. For some people, using a rideshare service may be more affordable than owning a personal vehicle based on their needs. Caregivers can also use a rideshare app to request a ride for a loved one, and then they can use the app to confirm that their loved one arrived at their destination and when they arrived. Now, the next one is mobility as a service. Now, it's more of a newer concept that consolidates the community's transit options all into one service platform, including public transportation, taxis, shuttles, ride-sharing services, and even volunteer driver options. This takes a lot of local coordination, but being able to find, schedule, and pay for various ride options all in one place is very helpful to our community's residents. So we're more likely to see this more often in the coming years. And then there's autonomous vehicles. Now, we've discussed a lot of exciting types of technologies today, but where is this all leading? Fully autonomous vehicles will have automated driving systems that can handle the whole task of driving without input from the driver. In other words, a self-driving vehicle. Although it will be some time before fully autonomous vehicles are available to the general public, it's good to be aware of this technology and how it's evolving. For instance, some cities are piloting shuttle services using autonomous vehicles in controlled routes. Of the technologies that we have discussed, autonomous emergency braking, reverse braking, and lane keeping are all great examples of autonomous features. And as we get more used to those autonomous features, it'll help us get closer to being more used to a fully autonomous vehicle. So autonomous vehicles also help improve road safety. Statistics show that 94% of serious crashes are due to human error. So it's easy to see how autonomous vehicles could just drastically reduce the number of crashes and save lives. As we've discussed, many new vehicles have lots of autonomous features. If you continue to learn about these technologies and how they work, by the time fully autonomous vehicles are widely available, you'll be ready to use them. All set. Okay, we've got some limitations of that technology we talked about. These technologies are designed to keep you on the road safe. But as we mentioned previously, it really is important to understand their limitations and use good judgment and avoid relying solely on the technology. So let's watch.
Crash avoidance technologies can make you safer on the road, but it's important to always use good judgment and to avoid relying on technology to keep you safe. To get the most from the safety technologies in your vehicle, you need to understand the limitations of the technology and the basic maintenance requirements. For example, lane departure warning systems may not detect that you've drifted out of your lane when lines on the roadways are faded or covered with snow, ice, or leaves. Reverse monitoring systems may not alert you to objects behind you that are moving very fast. Most reverse monitoring systems cannot detect small objects below the bumper or partially under the car. Flat objects on the ground directly behind the car are also not likely to activate the sensors. If your system has a backup camera and the lens is obscured by snow, dirt, or direct sunlight, you may not have a clear view of what's behind you. Overall, good car maintenance, like clearing snow from headlights and ensuring that dirt does not collect on sensors or cameras, is important and can help your car perform better. Because of the complexity of these systems, it's important to always have work performed at authorized repair shops that are able to recalibrate your sensors and update the software if needed. This is particularly important when having a windshield replaced because a common location for forward-facing sensors is behind the front windshield. While technology gives you additional information about your surroundings and other cars, remember that you're in the driver's seat, and it's important to use your good judgment and not to rely solely on technology to keep you safe.
Okay, so 77% of drivers 50 and older with vehicle safety technology say it makes them feel more confident behind the wheel. Now, we know the blinking and beeping related to these new technologies can be overwhelming at first. Hopefully classes like these and instruction from your dealer, experience with the technologies, perhaps research can all provide a better understanding of the underlying safety technologies that, when used properly, help drivers be better to better understand their road conditions so they can respond accordingly. Now, some important notes here. Some people think that a 10-year-old car with low mileage is just as safe as a newer car. Simply not true. Advanced in airbags, safety technologies are making a big difference. Even if you drive them frequently, it's important to recognize that newer cars are truly safer due to the significant advances in these technologies we've talked about. Let's invest effort in exploring what's available and how to use it effectively. Also, we suggest you do your research. Use internet search engine to find articles and videos. Perhaps review auto manufacturer websites for model-specific information. Visit a local dealership to get more information. This workshop's just the first step towards understanding some of these latest technologies. We encourage you to keep learning and take the next step by doing this kind of research. And if purchasing a new car in your future, be sure to save the window sticker, as that is the best indicator of the specific features that are in your car. So also understand that when you're researching a particular vehicle, keep in mind that many of the manufacturers call the same technology by different names. This is just an example of emergency braking of some of the names that some of the manufacturers call it. So you really need to understand what you want the technology to do because they're called something different and many times. You can see this example. And this is an example of the kind of information that may be available for a car you're interested in. Visit aarp.org/car buying to learn more. And you can learn more about the technologies and type of information. We have a lot of short videos on various transportation-related topics, and we are continuously adding new videos. There's a link to the driver safety quick learning page, and will be included in the following email. And it's 2-minute online videos, www.aarp.org/quick learnings. So you can find out about other little videos and learn more going online. Also, be a healthy driver. Exercise to stay flexible, improve your range of motion. Find out how medications can affect your driving, if it causes drowsiness or anything. Regular eye exams are important, and thoughtfully adapt to changes in your driving ability. We want to remind you to be thoughtful about how your health can intricately affect your ability to make good driving decisions. Also, to learn more about how to be a safe driver, consider taking our AARP Smart Driver course. The AARP Smart Driver course is the nation's first refresher course specifically designed for drivers of age 50 and older. In many states, drivers may benefit from a discount on their auto insurance premium upon completing the course. 97% of our participants changed at least one driving habit as a result of what they learned in this course, Smart Driver course. The follow-up email you receive from us will include a link to take the course in case you're interested. Some of you might receive a follow-up email. And the email will also tell you about other exciting driver safety-related programs that you can find. Also, some of you may get, let me back up here. We're always looking for additional volunteers. AARP is. We'd love to have you join us and to learn to help mature drivers be safer drivers for longer. Follow-up email also discusses the link for more information on joining our volunteer team. We hope you consider that and spread the word about how important of new and exciting vehicle safety technologies. Again, if you're interested in volunteering, www.aarp.org/volunteer-SDTech. You can find more about it there. Also, we will be sending out a survey to some of you. We always trying to make improvements to our workshops, and we welcome your input to help us to continuing improve the workshop. So I'm going to thank you for joining us to learn about the exciting innovations in vehicle safety technology. We hope these help you be a safer driver for longer. Now, Smart DriverTEK Workshop is available in many formats. You may visit aarp.org/fctech for details and consider joining us. Again, especially if you're just beginning, may need a refresher, go back. You can check out online there. Another optional question for participants that stay on. What technology we discussed today is most important? I guess I am interested in know what technology did we discuss today that you think is more important, or if anyone has any other questions or comments.
Yeah, Mary and I are going to stay on for a few minutes, so yes, you're welcome to, if you have those questions or comments, to stay on and we can address them. And if you're on Facebook, you can still put them in, and Karina will give them to us and we'll address it the same way. So I hope you enjoyed it. This has been fun, folks.